Knew about them just from their reputation in the community, knew about the Christian program from being associated with different churches, and then I came to work here through a colleague of mine who already worked here that I was in supervision with, and so he brought me on board. My role at Transformations is as a Christian therapist. I specialize in family systems, working to repair family relationships, spousal relationships, husband, wife, parent-child relationships, and I specialize in trauma healing as well. I like the word heartbeat because I do find a lot of life here. When you come out of active addiction, you're as alive as a doorknob. They call it the hole in the soul. When you come out of active addiction, there's a massive void of connection with yourself, other people, and higher power. And you're either going to fill that void through a relapse or through reestablishing these connections. So I like the term heartbeat because the vibe here is trying to reinstill life in you, taking power away from your drug of choice through reconnection. First and foremost, we always start with where the person is at. There's a lot of pain that drove us to addiction in the first place. So we look at where did that pain come from? What life experiences brought us to the point of needing our drug of choice to fill whatever void or escape from whatever pain that we've been through. So we seek to understand what painful life experiences brought you to this point. How can we heal from those and how can we move forward? And as we start moving from where they are to a more healthy place, naturally spirituality is a component that comes into that. And the journey varies from person to person. Some people come in and they're so desperate that they'll cling to anything. They are so desperate for spirituality and a connection with God that I don't have to do anything. Other people have a set of experiences that might make them distrust religion, distrust structure, distrust anything in authority. So when we start with where they're at and we start hashing out how pain caused us to be where we are, spirituality naturally falls into that. The first thing we do is get their history. We go through the whole biopsychosocial process of what was childhood like for you, relationship with your mom, relationship with your dad, relationship with siblings, any traumas that you've been through. We get the whole picture of where the person has been and where they are up to now, and what's not working for you, what is working for you. So you have to treat every case as an individual because every person is a different makeup of genetics, DNA, life experiences, and just personality, even right down to your birth order. So we like to pick apart exactly how you're an individual and then what kind of therapy is going to work best for you. I have a philosophy that personally, that the best way to peel through the onion layers is to take a sledgehammer to it. And the way you take a sledgehammer to those onion layers is you seek to understand. And the fastest way for me to understand you is just to ask you what hurts the most. And if I can get you to talk about the top 2 things that you do not want to talk about, I can get to the core root of your emotions and your problems. And if I can establish trust with you, first and foremost, then we can start to make some real progress. Some people, when they come here, they're either unaware of how much help they need, they're in denial. Some people have suffered so much that if I told them that standing on their head and spinning around in a circle would fix their problems, they would do it without asking any questions. It really depends on how desperate and how much pain the person is in to receive help. The holistic approach that we have in this program is one of the best aspects of Transformations because we address all aspects of the person. We do exercise 5 times a week. We take nature walks. We take them to different churches, different meetings. We have CR meetings, NA meetings, CODA meetings, CA meetings, NA, anything with an A on the end of it or recovery on the end of it, we've got access to. So it allows the person, again, to individualize their recovery plan. We don't just pile everyone in a van and take you to the same AA meeting. We diversify quite a bit. The list of groups and the schedule of groups, there's at least 4 every hour. So each client or patient can pick what group works for them in that hour. So if one person has more grief and loss issues, we have groups that cater to that. If another person has more trauma issues or defiance or rebellious issues, we have groups that you can pick from that cater exactly to where your needs are. And then we have nutrition groups, gyms, nature walks, anything so you can cater to your individual recovery. The greatest thing about coming to recovery in Delray Beach is because the beach is one of the most spiritual places on earth. It is very difficult to be stressed at the beach. It is very difficult to have the weight of the world on your shoulders at the beach. You have the sun shining, the ocean, it's very serene. And for me personally, the beach puts life in perspective without having to do anything at all. So if you have to come to recovery or rehab, you might as well come to recovery or rehab on the beach. Rehab has a reputation for bringing you in for 30 days, putting you in a safety bubble, and then after your 30 days, releasing you out into the world and saying good luck. We wish you the best. At Transformations, we have much more of a long-term process and program. You can come here for 30 days, and then we have the IOP program and the outpatient program. So you can receive what we call the continuity of care for up to 1 year. So we have a step-down process that allows you to gradually reconnect with your life in recovery and in sobriety. We say you have to change people, places, and things, and that's pretty much everything. So the idea that we can fix or change that in 30 days is completely unrealistic. So we've developed a program here that allows us to walk with you through the entire first year of early sobriety, and that's a big deal. I do what I do because I love it. In my opinion, there is nothing more important than your relationships with other people, with having a healthy mind, spirit, and body. There's nothing else on this earth that we can take with us when we die other than our relationships with ourselves, our God, and other people around us. You can't take your money with you. You can't take your career success with you. The only thing that matters, really, in the grand scheme of it all, is how you related to other people and what you did with the opportunities you're given. The holistic program that we have here with Dr. Sands is a fantastic option for a lot of people because sometimes prescription medications don't work for some people where natural holistics do. It's also a great way of helping the brain reconnect and heal by calming anxieties, decreasing depression symptoms in natural ways without side effects. A lot of times prescription medications is a trial and error process. I hear that you're anxious, let's try this prescription and see if it works. So that can cause a lot of frustration because again, I only have 30 days. So the holistic approach a lot of times works much better because it's been really proven to work without a lot of the side effects. Heroin, hands down. I'd say 80% of the people here are heroin addicts. Alcohol would probably be the second. Usually what happens is when they get to this point, they've progressed so far in their disease of addiction that they've used everything. They've experimented with everything until their brain makeup clicks with their drug of choice, and usually that's heroin. And the sad part is I've never seen an old heroin addict. I think the oldest heroin addict I've ever worked with is 30, because in heroin, you're either going to kick it, you're going to go to jail for it, or you're going to die from it. There is no such thing as a casual heroin user. There's only an addict in training, and there's no such thing as an old heroin addict. At Transformations, we focus on trauma. Trauma healing. A lot of times people go to rehab and they focus on addiction education, but they don't focus on the core reasons why we chose drug addiction in the first place or why we chose drugs in the first place. A lot of times when we seek and work on the core issues of dysfunction and pain and grief and suffering, then we take the power away from our drug of choice in itself. We have a lot of specialized trauma groups here, whether it be grief and loss, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse. We have very specific classes that work to heal from those traumas. So we are very different in the fact that we don't just address your addiction. We address the trauma that you've been through that caters to that addiction and the chronic relapses that happen. We call it finding puzzle pieces that we've missed to put together the whole picture. To uncover the trauma, we start by asking your life story. We are only as sick as our secrets. So in our trauma groups, we discuss those secrets that we've held on to. Most of the time, people do not share the physical and especially sexual abuse experiences that they've been through because of the shame and the guilt associated with it, especially when the perpetrator is a family member. There's a lot of shame when the perpetrator is a family member. So we start by telling our story, and then we start by looking at the messages received through being a victim of abuse, and then we decipher the lies that absorbed versus the truth. So the lie is that I was chosen to be a victim, that I'm a bad person because I'm a victim, that I am unhealthy, that I am dirty because I'm a victim. And the truth is really, the abuse had nothing to do with me. The perpetrator is a sick person that had his or her own issues, and truthfully, I am a child of God. It wasn't my fault. I should not feel guilt or shame. And then we discuss the forgiveness process in a way that allows us to release our anger against that person and move forward from it, so we no longer stumble over the same thing over and over. The staff here, and I know I'm biased, but it's the best staff on the planet. I can tell you honestly, every single person works here because they love what they do and because they want to be here. And there's a difference between wanting to work in recovery and wanting to work at Transformations. And everyone on staff here is at Transformations because they believe in the program, they believe in the vision, and they believe in what we do as a company and not just in recovery. If there's anything that I could say just in general, I think it would be to convey a message of hope. The disease of addiction is such a heavy, depressing, almost paralyzing kind of burden to carry around. When you talk about and learn about just how devastating the disease is, the average addict affects 40 people through their addiction. It seems hopeless. So I think the one thing that I can really say is just convey a message of hope that when you work the program works. And the program that you should work is the one that works for you. And that's what we do at Transformations, is we find exactly what works for you. We're not a cookie cutter place, so we want to hear what's going on with you as an individual and how we can help you as an individual and not you as an addict.